Welcome to the Financial Freedom Workshop. I'm Yvonne Davis, author, astrologer, and life transformation coach. And this week we are going to start week 1 of the program. So I want to take you on a little tour of the web page that you'll be exploring, and I will send you the link, and all of the resources for week 1 will be on this page. So basically, we will be starting with what are called auspicious alignments. So every week I will give you the weekly stars, which are the auspicious alignments for that week. So what you can do is you can plan your calendar for the week so that you take action on items that are important to you at the time when the alignments are best, okay? So I've already picked out those dates and times for you, and I will be doing that every week, and I'll also show you how I do that so that in the future, if you want to do this for yourself, you'll be perfectly capable of doing that yourself. Choose an event that you can take action on at that very moment in time. So that's where we'll start, and let me show you really quickly how I find those. I use this Daily Planetary Guide by Llewellyn. So if you want to learn how to do that yourself, I'm sure you're perfectly capable of learning how to do that. Basically, it shows you every day you find the time of the alignments. And so as long as you know what the symbols are, it's very easy to see when the favorable alignments are for each day, and then you can plan your calendar. So if you want to do that yourself, I'm going to do that for you every week of this 12-week program, but you can also learn how to do that yourself. And every once in a while, Buddy will make a special appearance to entertain all of you. All right, so let's go back and look at what we're going to explore this week. So we will have exercises, and one of the exercises that I will have for you every week is to make a list of weekly goals and actions to achieve those goals. And I will put mine at the bottom of the page every week because I think sometimes people may feel intimidated, like, what are you supposed to put on the list? Some people have no problem with that, but others might feel a little bit intimidated. So mine is just a real life human, true to life example of what I am going to be doing every week. And so I think that can help just to have an example of what that might look like. And one of the things I want to say, which is very important for what we're going to be exploring this week, the lesson this week is going to be on abundance mentality versus poverty mentality. So I want to start with an understanding of something very basic, which has to do with energy alignment, okay? So in the welcome page, I mentioned that we will be exploring the chakras in this program. And I am exploring financial freedom from an energetic perspective. There are tons of strategies out there, tons of programs out there that give you mind stuff, okay? So, or other actions for making money. And those are all fine. But the fact is, if you are not energetically aligned to financial freedom, none of that stuff is going to make much difference anyway, okay? You have to start with being energetically aligned for financial freedom. And once you are, you can easily attract to you the strategies that will work for you to meet your needs and to experience freedom and liberation, because ultimately that's what it's all about. You can have a lot of money and not be free, or you can have 73 cents in your bank account and you can be as free as a bird. So it really has actually nothing to do with money, and that's a lie we've been taught. It's one of the greatest lies that humanity has ever been led to believe, is that money is what gives you freedom. The truth is, money is just a tool, like a hammer. A hammer doesn't make you free, does it? You could have a whole house full of hammers. You're not necessarily free, but you have great tools for building a house, so it's just a tool. And so getting clear about the stories that we tell ourselves is really important, because a lot of the stories are core limiting beliefs that block us from attracting the flow of wealth. Okay, so let's go back to that page and get a little bit more oriented, and then we'll talk some more about this energy alignment to financial freedom. So we're going to be exploring abundance mentality versus poverty mentality. And I think the thing I really want to say about this is that it's really about being the energy being in alignment, because a lot of times what happens with woundedness or with core limiting beliefs is that we have blockages in our chakras and in our energetic body, and that's what blocks the flow, because abundance is really an energy. And so if it can't flow through our energy systems, we won't experience wealth. So what we want to do is we want to get energetically aligned to wealth and to abundance, okay, and to receiving. And so in most people who, and I'm guessing that this may be something you're experiencing, because if you already had financial freedom, why would you sign up for this program? You're here because you have a sense of something is lacking, and maybe you're not quite sure what's causing it or how to release yourself from whatever is blocking your financial freedom. So a lot of times what happens is with the woundedness and with the core limiting beliefs that come out of the woundedness, what happens is that it's like we have different people inside of us. They're all calling for their needs, and they're not working together. They're not integrated. And so, for example, if you have an idea in your mind or an action you want to take, and you'll discover this as you make your weekly goals, how accurate are you on your weekly goals? Now, if you're 100%, that's fine, but sometimes that means you're not actually stretching yourself. You're in your comfort zone. And if you're like way low, not even close to 100%, then that means that there may be some issues around alignment, that one part of yourself has an image of what you're going to accomplish, and another part of yourself is not in alignment with that. So we have to work on that alignment, that energetic alignment. So as an example, one of the things I say is you have to learn to develop observation skills. The observation is what will lead you to the integration. So if you make a list of goals, if you're 100%, great, but then go ahead and stretch yourself, okay? Because you may be still a little too stuck in your comfort zone, and there could be something out there that you really want, but you don't totally have a belief in it, and so you want to, stretch yourself and see what you're truly capable of. So anyway, at the end of the week, when you look at your list and you see what did you accomplish, what did you not accomplish, and these weekly goals need to be concrete. The actions need to be concrete, okay? Because they have to be something that you can actually achieve in 1 week. We will have more goal setting for the rest of the year, but for now, we're just doing this first week. So you do have to have some idea of your destination so that you know what steps you're going to take to get there. So the long-term goals and the short-term goals work together. Now, what happens is when you get to the end of the week and you look at what you've accomplished. Again, if it's 100%, the next week stretch yourself. But if it's much lower, then look at the items you didn't accomplish, because a lot of times what you'll find is it will reveal these different parts of yourself. And there's a part of yourself that you're really going to need to get to know during these 12 weeks, and that's called your shadow. And we can give this part of yourself some different names, and I'm hoping that by the end of the 12 weeks, you will have met this part of yourself and developed somewhat of a dialogue and kind of an intimate, close relationship with this part of yourself, because this part of yourself is actually your power. And this part of yourself, I also like to call the one who's running the show. Because if you put things on the list and they don't get done, or if you tell yourself you're going to do something and then it doesn't happen, if you tell yourself you're going to manifest something and it doesn't happen, then the question is, well, why? You know, why am I not creating? Why am I not manifesting? Why am I not attracting? And so ultimately, observing what's actually happening at the end of the week is how you find out who's actually running the show. You know, it's like a person who says that they want to lose weight and get in shape, and then at the end of the week they're the same weight, maybe even they gained weight, and they looked at what they did. They didn't exercise, they sat on the couch and ate potato chips and watched TV. So that's the kind of, I mean, that's an extreme, but that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, is when there's not an alignment between the different parts of the self. Instead, there's a kind of war going on. And what we need to do is we need to bring these parts together in alignment so that the energy is all moving in the same direction, okay? That's integration, as opposed to disintegration, where the energy is just dissipating all over the place. So pay attention to that this week. This is actually the most important thing for this week, is to look at what your goals are and then look at how closely is the alignment between what actually happens and what you want to happen, because that will tell you a lot about your level of integration or disintegration. And like I said, you have to challenge yourself a little bit. I mean, it's easy to say, I'll wake up in the morning. We pretty much all do that, you know, or I'm going to eat my breakfast, or I'm going to, you know, I don't know, read a book. Unless reading this particular book is challenging for you. But, you know, the normal stuff that you know you're going to do every day, that's not really challenging you toward self-actualization. So you want a little bit of challenge, a little bit of edge in that list. And this is going to be the most important thing, because we need to be able to assess how integrated we are. And this is one of the things that will help us to see that, okay? So let me go back and talk about some of the other things that we're going to explore this week. So again, the first thing is to use these alignments to plan your calendar, make a list of weekly goals and actions to achieve those goals. And if you want to share, you're always welcome to email me. And if you're interested in community building, we could, I'm open to the possibility of creating a Facebook group if people want to come on and be able to interact with each other. So it's all up to you and what you feel you need and want in this program. All right, so lesson 1 for week 1 is abundance mentality versus poverty mentality. And this goes back to our woundedness and to the core limiting beliefs. And so the first chakra is where our body meets the earth, and it's the energy vortex that relates to meeting our basic needs. But this is also where that chakra, that energy vortex, can get blocked or warped by woundedness, fear, and scarcity beliefs, personal stories of lack and unworthiness. They're held in the first chakra, and they block the ability to meet needs. So we'll need to do clearing and healing and integration that leads to a strong, clear, healthy, balanced chakra that allows the energy to flow through. So during the week, what we'll do is you'll come back to this page. You'll only have one link. Everything else will be accessed through that link, okay? And so when you come to week 1, you can check in on a regular basis because I will be loading resources all week long. And I'll have more videos, more resources regarding chakras, particularly the first chakra, because that's what we're going to start with, and chakra meditation and all kinds of things like that. So you want to be sure to come back to this page and continue to access the resources, because I'll be loading up resources well, not every day, but definitely on a regular basis. And then when we go to the second week, the first week will be complete, but you can always return to it and rework through the materials of that week. The other thing we'll be exploring is the second zodiacal house in astrology. The second house is related to our personal finances, material possessions, and the concept of value. Natal planets in the second house tend to seek security through their material world. Planets transiting the second house reveal changes in resources, self-esteem, and self-worth. And that's what we really have to focus on right now, is what is the state of our self-esteem and our self-worth? Because that is the energy from which we are able to attract and receive wealth, okay? It's also the energy from which we are able to allow ourselves to be free. So self-esteem and self-worth are the foundation for a healthy first chakra. And this allows you to attract, create, and receive in the second house, okay? So these energies, they work together. The energy of the of the first chakra is the energy that we see alive in the second house. And everyone has a second house. It doesn't actually matter what's happening in the second house astrologically. Everyone has a second house. When you have planets coming into the second house, it can activate energy, and that can be helpful if you know how to use it. Just like with the astrological alignments during the week, if you use that energy, you'll be more successful. So this is how we're using the cosmic alignments, the cosmic energy, to help us to manifest and bring our own energy system into alignment with the cosmic energy system, okay, to make it more powerful. So beyond feelings of self-worth, the second house also relates to receiving and clarity about what you value, your personal assets, your ability to access resources, and your connection to abundance. So if you're having any blockages in these areas, this is where we need to look energetically. We need to work on the first chakra, get the first chakra clear, need to really observe and journal about what is blocking you. And the way to do that is to see, well, let's just talk about this, because this is a technique along with the weekly goals and actions, and aligning those in your calendar with the best astrological configurations. You're also going to be doing observation and journaling every week, because this is how you get to know what's actually in your energetic system. So you'll develop your observation skills, and this will help you tremendously in cultivating an abundance mentality. Notice during the day when you experience abundance and when you experience lack. Take the time to write about each one. You can write a few sentences or go into depth, exploring your thoughts, feelings, stories, and beliefs about abundance and lack. So anything can be turned into, a concept of lack. Anything can be turned into fear. Anything can be turned into shame. It's true. it's not the outer environment, it's the inner being. It's like it's a very sad thing. We live, the blessing is that we live in a culture and in a country of incredible wealth and abundance and opportunities. And I've traveled a lot in this world, so I know that being in the United States, we really have no excuse. And you may not be feeling that in the moment, but believe me, if you travel to a less developed country and you experience firsthand, you know that in the United States, we have no excuse. I mean, the wealth and abundance and opportunities are just out there like a banquet in this country. And it's all mental. If we can get that mental adjustment, the emotional adjustment, the energetic adjustment, if we can work with our woundedness and our core limiting beliefs and transform them, we can access those opportunities. We can access that wealth and abundance, and there's nothing stopping us. So, as an example, the downside of having grown up in this culture is that we have a reinforced belief about lack and fear and a scarcity mentality, a poverty mentality. And so while we're existing in the midst of incredible wealth and abundance, we are telling ourselves we don't have enough. And that story and the energy that goes with it, the energetic vibration, keeps us impoverished. That's what keeps us from being financially free. And we blame the externals and think that that's the reality. But in truth, it's the energetic alignment that allows us to open up and access resources and experience abundance and to experience wealth and to experience financial freedom. Because financial freedom is the important part. We can be free. We can be liberated at any moment. And as an example, I'll take myself. See, I don't think you need $1 million to be financially free. I tell a story in this program where there was a woman who was in the midst of a divorce, and she was contemplating suicide, not because of the divorce, but because she was afraid that she was only going to get $2 million from the divorce settlement. She was contemplating suicide. Well, as it turned out, she got much more than that, but nothing had changed in her internally, and she ended up being an alcoholic and pushing people away. And so her inner impoverishment was based in low self-esteem, low self-worth, and she was not free. No amount of money could have given her an experience of financial freedom. Whereas I was at a time in my life where I was willing to take risks to pursue an authentic life. And that is freedom. That is liberation. And I was tired. I was, trying to be self-employed. I had left my my full-time job with CBS, and I was still struggling a little bit and to get my own business going. And I was doing some temp work at law firms because I had been a paralegal. And I think I was just really tired of it. It wasn't my authentic truth. And at some point, the job assignments just dried up for weeks, and I had no income for weeks. And I had 73 cents in my bank account for at least 2 weeks. And I couldn't drive my car because I didn't have money for gas, and also because I needed to renew my tags. They had expired. And so what I did was I just backed up my car in the parking spot so that my tags weren't visible. And I rode my bike and walked everywhere. And you know, the funny thing is that I remember experiencing some anxiety around that, but I was able to just give myself empathy and say, wow, I'm experiencing some anxiety, you know, but it was also kind of exciting. Like, I'm so alive, you know, and, I mean, it was adventurous. It was like, wow, what's going to happen next, you know? And I could really, I felt vital. I felt alive. I felt authentic. I was a little bit vulnerable. Yeah, I felt some, you know, anxiety around that, but the aliveness was so incredible. It's hard to describe. And I learned how far I could walk in a day. I learned how far I could ride in a day. And I actually really learned to love it. And I almost regretted it going back to driving my car when the money started to flow in again. But the amazing thing was that during those 2 weeks, all my needs were met. And I could not have told you how that was going to happen. It happened almost like magic. You know, people would ask me to go out to dinner or out to lunch and treat me, not because they had any awareness that I was struggling financially, but just because they wanted to. Or I was teaching some workshops and we would have a potluck break and people would bring food and then just leave it there. And since I was running the workshop, I had to take it home. So all kinds of these magical things just like showed up, and my needs were met. So, and I've had that happen so many times over the course of my time where I was working to become self-employed, and to get into alignment with something that felt truly authentic to me, that I would enjoy, so that I could have a general bliss in my life. I could follow my bliss. I could walk a path with heart, and I could experience financial freedom. That's what financial freedom is to me. It doesn't mean not working. Maybe you don't want to work, but I think that for most of us, what we really want is to be able to follow our hearts, whatever that means. And so that's what freedom is. So that gives you kind of the basics for this week. So let's take a real quick look at that again and just summarize what we're doing this week. So again, you'll get a link. That link will connect you. It's one, excuse me. It's one link, and that will connect you to on the page that I'm sending you. It will have the links to every week. They'll be loaded onto that page every week. So you only need one link, okay? And you can access every week of the program starting with week 1. The second thing is I will be loading resources all week long, so you'll need to come back and check. It won't be complete until we start the next week, okay? So when we start week 2, then you know week 1 is done. But you can always return and rework through the exercises and materials for that week. So again, you'll find out what the auspicious alignments are, and you'll plan your calendar to take action on those dates and times. You'll make a list of weekly goals and the actions to achieve those goals. And again, this is very important for the later observational skills that you'll be developing to see if you are really in alignment or not. And if you're not in alignment, then the question is why? You need to get to know that person that I call the one who's running the show, okay? So again, lesson 1 is on abundance mentality versus poverty mentality. We'll do more exploration of the first chakra this week, including the chakra meditation. And we will talk more about the second zodiacal house. And again, everyone has a second house, okay? So if you're wondering, oh, what's happening in my second house? Don't worry about it. Everybody has a second house. If you know what your sun sign is and or your ascendant, like as an example, if your ascendant is Cancer, then you know your second house is Leo. If you're a Sagittarian, you know that your second house is Capricorn. So you can look and see if you have your natal chart. If you don't, there are plenty of websites online that offer a free natal chart. I know one is called cafeastrology.com. So, or you can just Google it. You can find a website where you can create a free natal chart. And then you can look and see what kind of planets are in your natal second house. And you can do this, you can look at the second house either from the ascendant or from your sun sign. And then what you want to know is when are planets in those signs. So for example, right now, there's a ton of energy in Capricorn. So you want to know which house for you is Capricorn, because that's where the energy is this year. So is it in one of your supply houses? The supply houses are the second house. That's the most important, the one we're going to talk about this week. Is it in your sixth house of work? Is it in your eighth house of joint resources? Is it in your 10th house of career? So you can know where the energy is flowing in, and you can work with that energy. And everyone who signed up for a reading in combination with this course will have some idea of what's happening in your chart for this year, 2020. And then finally, for every week of this 12-week program, you'll need to develop your observation skills, and journaling is very important for that. So even if you're just writing a few sentences every day, you need to track, when do you have experience of lack? When do you have experience of abundance? Because I'm telling you that ultimately it's a perception. It's how you're perceiving reality and interpreting it in your mind. And it gets all mixed up with your woundedness and your core limiting beliefs and of lack and the stories that our culture has taught us. And then you experience it as lack instead of as abundance. And when you experience it as lack, you're not free. When you experience it as abundance, then you know you're free. Abundance is a state of being. Freedom is a state of being. It can be achieved at any given moment. It's not a thing you have or a thing you do. Even though we live in a material and physical world, and we want to manifest, we want to bring energy down through our chakras and out through our body into material and physical manifestation, because we enjoy that. That's what we humans like to do. That is what gives us joy and pleasure. And so that's all great. It's just that people are always thinking that it's the external first, but it's actually the internal first. There is opportunity, there is wealth, there is abundance in any given situation. The only issue really is what's happening inside. Are you experiencing feelings of fear? Are you experiencing feelings of judgment? Are you experiencing feelings of shame? Those are lower vibrations that are the energy of lack, okay? So you want to be observing that every day, because they aren't real. No matter how much you think they are, they're not real. It's the energy that is real, okay? And when you can let go of the externals and focus on the internal, the energy, and raise your vibration, the external will reflect that back, okay? So it all starts with the internal. And you've probably heard this before, but I hope that through this 12-week program, you'll actually be able to meet the one who's running the show, your shadow, and work on that integration.